Hello, welcome to Crisy's podcast. So today we are discussing the controversial figure Sean Combs. I will be giving the lowdown in the lead up to Combs' demise and keeping his crime activity covered on this podcast. As you can see, my title is Desperate Diddy Appeals $15 million Bail Denial in Third Attempt at Freedom from Brutal Brooklyn Jail. I will be starting a brief background of his personal life for those who are not aware of it. So Sean John Combs, age 54 years old, was born on November the 4th, 1969. He is also known by his stage name Diddy, formerly Puff Daddy and P. Diddy, and as we all know, is an American rapper and a record producer and a record executive and an entrepreneur and television producer. He has won Grammy Award 3 times, and he is credited with the discovery and development of musical artists including Notorious B.I.G., Mary J. Blige and Usher. P. Diddy, or Sean Combs, has 7 children and 3 partners, and he was born in the U.S. Harlem and raised in Mount Vernon, New York. His talents and achievements have no bounds, and he is one of the wealthiest musical artists. So in late night 2023, his former partner Cassie Ventura filed a multi-million-dollar sexual assault lawsuit against him, and they settled out of court. Over the next few months, numerous civil complaints were filed by claimants who alleged that they had been sexually abused by Combs between 1991 and 2009, and many more are in the planning stages as of October 2024. Amongst many other allegations, one that really stood out actually was in 2009 in Los Angeles, because the Los Angeles Times claimed that the Notorious B.I.G. Combs orchestrated the 1994 robbery and shooting of Tupac. Very controversial, and some people still believe this is a fact. Substantiating the claim with supposed FBI documents were used, but the newspaper later retracted the story, acknowledging that the document had been fabricated. So in May 2024, surveillance footage of Combs physically assaulting Ventura in 2016, which is his ex, she was assaulted at a hotel, and the footage was released on social media. Combs, he actually issued a public apology for the assault, and in September 2024, he was indicted by federal grand jury in Manhattan and charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and the creation of criminal enterprise in which he abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires and protect his reputation and conceal. He pleaded not guilty twice denied bail. Combs is awaiting trial in federal custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn as we speak. So in March 2024, several properties tied to Combs were raised by the Department of Homeland Security as part of their investigation. His trial, this current trial, is set to start on May the 5th, 2025. On the 8th of November 2024, Sean Diddy Combs proposes a $50 million after renewing his push to be released on a $50 million bail, as he awaits trial on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. But the judge made no decision and asked both sides to submit documents by Monday. Diddy has now made and applied for a bond on 3 separate occasions. A U.S. District Judge Aaron Subramanian is expected to make a bail decision next week. So earlier this week, the judge ordered federal prosecutors to delete images of the billionaire moguls' handwritten notes taken during a search of his jail, which his lawyers said were protected by attorney-client privilege. And excerpts from those notes that prosecutors referenced previously cannot be used at the bond hearing, the judge added. The quotes in question reference getting dirt on at least 2 potential witnesses. So anyway, bail is denied with a gagging order, but Coombs says he's unable to prepare for trial from jail. So Diddy's jail cell was searched last week for evidence that he was writing notes in order to influence witnesses. Diddy claims this violates his Fourth Amendment rights. However, inmates do not have this privilege of Fourth Amendment rights, so that part is actually weird. So prosecutors have reason to believe he's obstructing jail justice from prison by contacting witnesses through intermediaries. This is the same argument they made during his bail hearing, and I think they have the evidence to back it. But witness tampering also falls under the same exception to client-attorney-client privilege. Prosecutors want to make sure that doesn't happen. So will Diddy ever see the light of day? And has anyone ever heard of an offer of $50 million bond bail offer? His bond offer consists of house arrest, agreeing to wear GPS monitoring, and promising to show up to court hearings. Sean Diddy Coombs has taken another shot at bailing out of jail, where he's reportedly been placed on suicide watch and was rumoured to be in grave danger. Court documents exclusively obtained by RadarOnline.com show the disgraced hip-hop mogul filed to appeal a judge's decision to reject his $15 million bond application. Coombs, 54, has been locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn since his arrest. After pleading not guilty during his first court hearing, a federal magistrate's judge denied Diddy bail. But his lawyers appealed the decision the following day in front of the U.S. District Court Judge Andrew L. Carter, who is overseeing the case. So the defense asserted Mr. Coombs should be released on the conditions proposed so that he can fight his case in court effectively. But federal prosecutors argued the defendant was a flight risk who had an alleged history of extorting his victims, and Judge Carter actually agreed with this. He denied the defendant's bail a second time, saying Coombs was dangerous and the bail package he proposed was insufficient in addressing flight concerns. Judge Carter declared no condition or set of conditions could ensure the safety of witnesses and the community if Coombs were to be released. A 3-court federal indictment against Diddy painted him as a sex-crazed deviant who allegedly forced women and male prostitutes into drug-fueled extended sexual performances he called freak-offs. So the prosecutors noted the indictment's allegation he used embarrassing and sensitive recordings he made of the freak-offs as collateral against the victims. So he was also accused of using violence and coercion to intimidate and threaten victims and witnesses. So in comparison, if we're going to compare the male bonds, for example, Michael Jackson in 2003, pop star Michael Jackson was arrested on charges of child molestation. He was granted bail with a $3 million bond, one of the largest ever recorded at the time. Jackson was eventually acquitted of all charges. And then another example, in July 2019, wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein was arrested on charges of sex trafficking minors. He was granted bail, but with a whopping $100 million bond, one of the largest ever recorded. Epstein was required to put up a $77 million collateral, including his $56 million mansion in New York City, to secure the bond. Epstein actually died in his jail cell in August 2019 before his trial could take place. We'll be doing more podcasts. A few questions that we would like to bring to your attention that will get the mood going for my next podcast. My friend here will ask the questions. Before I go,
what happened to P. Diddy's father?
Wasn't he shot while sitting in his car?
At the age of 33, Melvin was shot dead while sitting in the car on the Central Park West, where Combs was 2 years ago. Combe has a sister, Keisha, and grew up in poverty. Combe was raised Catholic and served as the altar boy.
P. Diddy didn't really know his dad then, if he was shot when he when he was 2 years old, and I wonder why he was shot. And in those type of circles, obviously, if a gun's used, although we always know that the US always has allows for licenses for people to obtain guns. But that's rather interesting, given that P. Diddy has also been accused or known to have had shootouts or using a gun on people. He was a choir boy. That's another interesting part of this story, because he had no daddy. He ended up being a choir boy, so he was going to church. But as you could see, that doesn't guarantee that if you go to church or you're a choir boy that you will necessarily change your course of life. And it doesn't matter how much money you get or how successful you are or how famous you are, you could still be in jail and maybe never to be released because of, for some reason, you have deviant behavior that you never controlled. Is there anything else that we could look into for our next podcast? One of the reasons being, was it that to hide who he was, or what was the whole point of doing that? There was one time he couldn't use that name because he was getting sued, I think. One of the names. That's another thing we'll be looking into.
People believe that Combe was trying to distance himself from the past.
Yeah.
He has been acquitted of gun possession and bribery charge in connection to a December 1999 shooting at club at New York.
Anything else that we thinks that's enough to get our juices going? But we all know that he has 2 twin girls out of his 7 children, and the mother of those twin girls did die when they were 11 years old. That's something else we will be looking at and see if there's any connections, but there was no substantial evidence to prove that. I will be covering P. Diddy further in my future podcasts on Thursdays. Please tune in, please subscribe, and raise anything you'd like in the contents page. I look forward to reading them and for giving you more content in my true crime series. Bye.